On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, very slow news week across Mizzou athletics. So we had a very good interview. We brought on Karen Steger from Rock M Nation, talked a bunch of Mizzou gymnastics and Mizzou softball. It was a great conversation with her, kind of previewed the off seasons for both sports. Got to do a little recap of gymnastics finishing third at nationals too, including a clarification on the scoring discrepancy at the end that vaulted Mizzou into third place over Utah. So it was a great conversation with Karen. They do a great job over there at Rock M Nation. So that's the main bulk of our show. And then we finished with a fun quick hit segment with the other news items that we had. But should be some news obviously down the pipeline. We're getting closer to the full summertime too. So we'll have our Mount Rushmore season coming up as well. So won't be a first segment. We'll just dive right into the interview. So that is to clarify that why there's no welcome back to the unwritten rule. Welcome back to the unwritten rule. Today is Friday, May 9th. There you go. So enjoy the interview with Karen. It was great to catch up with her and enjoy quick hits. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. The unwritten rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
And now for something completely different.
Okay, we now welcome on a very special guest, one of our good friends of the program. It's Karen Steger over at Rock M Nation. Rock M does a really good job covering Mizzou alongside us, and we appreciate Karen. She's joining us, writes a ton about Mizzou gymnastics and softball. Wanted to have her on to kind of recap those seasons. Those are now in the books. Softball probably a bit sooner than we all would have hoped, but we'll get to that. But Karen, I want to start with gymnastics, which obviously had one of the best seasons in program history. We're excited to talk with you about that. Obviously finished third in nationals. So much exciting moments all year long, and I feel bad. I'm kind of starting with a negative, but I was really excited to get your take on this because I read your long kind of recap on nationals over on Rock M, and people should check that out as well. But you couldn't see most of Mizzou's or some of Mizzou's final routines at nationals because of ESPN and ABC, and you wrote about it. I think it was fairly well documented, but it seemed pretty egregious to me that they did that, obviously not showing them when they went kind of down early and obviously rose up to finish third. But what did you make of it, and how did you see Mizzou and Mizzou Twitter, and then I'm forgetting the name. It was like gymnastics Twitter. Someone had a nickname for it. Gymternet, yes. How did you see that reaction? Because I feel like with the growth of this sport, that just seemed pretty ridiculous to do on a national platform, whether it was Mizzou or anybody else.
Well, and the thing I think that makes me the most irritated about it, and probably the rest of Mizzou fandom and the Gymternet wide, would be the fact that they have this program where they have it set up so they're only showing two teams at a time. So you never miss a routine. And they say, you're going to get to see every single routine because we're only going to put two on the screen at one time. And then it was like they just decided, oh, Mizzou's going to lose, so screw them. And it fills me with rage. I against probably better judgment, I work for a fan site, so I can kind of say what I want, but I mean, I went into a rage on Twitter. I did kind of calm down a little bit by the time I wrote my recap, but it's still like writing about it and how I missed some people's routines because we didn't even know that they were going to stop showing them on the main broadcast, that Mizzou had earned being there, and it's unacceptable. Like, I think I missed like three people's routines because I didn't realize that they just weren't going to show it. until the score started popping up on the side of the screen. I'm like, where's that person's routine? Where's that person's routine? And so then I had to turn on ESPN Plus. But one of the cool things that should have been about this broadcast is that, like, the people who are watching national championships aren't, like, they're obviously there to watch a team, but people want to watch Helen Hill. They want to watch Amari Celestine, Jocelyn Moore. Like, they want to watch all of the gymnasts. And by forcing them to then only go on to the ESPN Plus screen where they can only see Oklahoma, like, I missed Jordan Childs. I really wanted to watch Jordan Childs. Like, it just, they did an extreme disservice to Mizzou. And then especially, like, given that they ended up finishing third, yet they had shown, I mean, I came on here last year and told you all about how much I couldn't stand Utah. So
Right.
my annoyance with them is well documented. But, like, they showed all of Utah's routines, and they ended up finishing fourth. And it just, like, it wasn't fair. They had earned the spot to be there. I don't, if it had been LSU or Florida, would they have done that? I don't know. I don't know if it was just a Mizzou thing or what, but it just really did a disservice to people that were tuning in to watch Mizzou have this, like, unbelievable season that they've never had, and on watching them on national television to just have them decide, like, they're not good enough, so we're just going to stop showing them. It's not right.
Yeah.
It's not right.
I want to pivot real quick. Like, we're going to do a full 180 to get some positives, just out of this too, just how it kind of ended. And before we get into, like, maybe the future of gymnastics too. And I feel like we can talk about her forever. Like, we could probably spend another hour just talking about what she did for this program. You mentioned Helen there. And I want to talk about just, what she did against Florida on the beam and, taking a year off and getting back into gymnastics again. And I mean, I think it's fair to say she's going to be one of the most recognized names just in this era of Mizzou gymnastics and just in the era of just female athletics for Missouri as well, kind of moving forward. Can you kind of just speak to what she meant to this program and just what, like, her presence, as she moves on, like, what her name kind of means just when you think about Missouri gymnastics?
She's forever in the record books. I mean, the first Mizzou gymnast to ever win an individual national title. I think besides Carissa Schweitzer, I think she's the second Mizzou individual champion, I believe. I think the coolest thing about her, covering her we got to talk to her at length, like the SID for gymnastics is amazing, and we get to talk to people constantly, and it's just been phenomenal. So we've talked to her a bunch of times. I think the thing I'll remember most about her is how humble she is and what a good teammate she was, because she wasn't like, if you probably asked her now, she'd probably be like, yeah, my national championship was probably like the icing on the cake. But earlier on in the season, when she was still getting tens and people were asking her, like, what's your favorite thing about this season? She'd be like, just being on the team, or like the team scoring a 198-1. It's not like my 10 that I got. Like, she was so focused on the team and not herself. And so, like, semifinals, I think it was semifinals, all the meets run together now, where Amy Weir fell and she had to get whatever score it was, I can't remember now, or above in the final slot. Well, so we got to ask her questions afterwards, and she was like, it was a very high pressure situation for me, but she was like, it was much harder for Amari because Amari had to follow the fall. She was like, by the time I watched hit routine after that and watched my teammates kill it, I just did what I always do. So I think that she just showed that well, one, your skills apparently never go away. Like it's like riding a bike, and she can take a year off and come back and be amazing. But just I think the thing I'll remember most about her and the other seniors that are leaving is just what they did for the culture of Mizzou gymnastics. Like people want to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fun like mentality that they sported. And you mentioned like I just want to mention too the tweet that she had where she was like, crazy how what a difference a year makes, and it was her like sitting wherever it was in some exotic place, like drinking out of a coconut, and then all of a sudden competing at that. Like that's just ridiculous. I mean, in that sport, especially to be able to take a year off and do that, you mentioned the skills. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's extremely impressive.
Like she told us she hadn't really done any gymnastics while she was gone. She said she would like randomly would do cartwheels and splits and stuff, and she stayed flexible teaching yoga. But I mean, it all happened because one of her teammates got married. She came back on the beam, was like, oh, I can still do this. And I want to go back to school anyway. So
I hope it was like
it's
a
just
party.
kind of crazy how it worked out.
I hope it was like a party trick thing that she did while she was gone. She's just like, no one was suspecting anything. She's like, watch this. Just does some part of her routine or something. Just...
Right. Well, I think the other thing that we realized, like when she was on the team the last time, the coverage wasn't as good. We didn't get to talk to people as much as we do now. So like we didn't realize how funny she is, or like she had one routine at the end of one of the routines. I think the broadcast cut out, but she did the worm after she finished her routine. And Shannon told us later, he's like, I hope we don't get a fine for that. And then like after national finals, she like broke out into a split. And it was just like, oh.
All right.
You do you, Helen, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the other seniors, I mean, you mentioned a couple. I mean, Amari Celestine, Mara Tarsali, I believe, is out of eligibility. Can you just kind of like talk about some of the roster turnover? I mean, who are some of the key departures that Mizzou Gymnastics is losing from this historic team, and who are kind of going to be the big contributors that are back?
So they're losing a lot of people. However, I don't think that people realize how amazing the depth is. Like, there are people that didn't really get into lineups this year, or didn't get to perform nearly as much as they would have normally, if not for all of the seniors ahead of them. So, like, I'm trying to think. On bars, they actually are losing 4 out of the 6 regular competitors on the number 4 bars team in the country. So they're losing Mara, they're losing the lead off Kira Burns, her eligibility is up. They're losing Amari, they're losing Jocelyn Moore. But they still have Addison Lawrence, who did bars like half the season. She's a 9-9. Olivia Kelly's still there. There are a bunch of other people. I'll get to it a little later, but they just picked up a bar specialist. So it seems like they're losing a lot, and it would make you wonder, like, oh, that bar spot's going to be rough next year. But there's so much talent behind the seniors that are leaving that I'm not really concerned that there's going to be much difference, especially also with the return of Lauren McPherson, who is coming back now after an injury season. She was like a 995 bars person, but she tore her Achilles, I think before the first meet. So we never got to see what she was doing. And then beam, I think they lose Helen, of course, which is a big loss. I mean, you don't just get 10-0 beams out of everybody. And then Amari again, and Abby Miller, who did it. She was kind of the first alternate almost. Like, they ended up sticking Olivia Kelly in, who was a freshman towards the end of the season, but Abby was like right there with her. She's out of eligibility also. But two of the fifth years that are coming back, Lauren, like I just mentioned, and Grace Ann Davis are both big time beamers. So that's not really losing anything there. Vault, they're just losing two in Amari and Jocelyn. Floor is stacked. So like I will miss an Amari Celestine and Jocelyn Moore floor, like just the most incredible thing to watch. But the floor lineup is like 10 deep. So it's like, it's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it seems like one of the biggest things they're losing, obviously, Helen Hughes is what it is. Again, those don't grow on trees, but it seems like one of the biggest things they're replacing is just kind of the vibes. But it's obviously that's how you compete in a league like the SEC, especially as you have that depth. And then you mentioned, some of the newcomers. I want to ask you about that. You mentioned the bar specialist. I read your article on her, Michaela Green coming over from Illinois. I was curious what she
Illinois pipelined.
Yeah,
following in the footsteps of Abby Miller, who came over from Illinois this past year.
So you've got the Mizzou Illinois pipeline. I wanted to ask you about her, and then as well, I know this freshman class coming in. They're in the top 15 nationally and top 5 in the SEC, which is no mean feat, of course, in this league. Can you talk about those additions as well as Green coming over and adding some depth there on bars?
Yeah. So Michaela Green's coming from Illinois. She has, I think, 1 year of eligibility left. I asked Jackie Turpak, the floor coach, about this, and she said that's, I think, what she thought, because I think she was out with an injury in 2024. She's done some other events in the past, but she is mainly known as a bar specialist. She is very good. And being able to work with Whitney Snowden, who is like one of the best bars coaches in the country, obviously leading the number 4 bars team. I think it's only going to get better for her. So she got a 9925, I think 4 times last year. She won 7 event titles, and it's like she's coming from the Big Ten. She had some big time performances at the Big Ten championships, at national semifinals. Like she's going to be a big addition. So she can easily slot in for, one of the ones that's leaving. And then with Grace Ann Davis and Lauren McPherson coming back, that takes care of. Grace Ann does vault and beam. So that'll be huge for them. And then Lauren McPherson is an all-arounder. I see her contributing mostly on bars and beam. So, and she's like 9925 and a 995. So again, like high scores that you want. Coming in, I don't know I don't know yet what events they'll end up doing, but they do have a 5-star in Kamara Ecoles. I hope I'm saying her name right. Apologies if I'm not.
Well, I'll learn. That's, again, it's recruits. Yeah. Like recruits, you learn as you go. Equals Eccles, maybe.
And then a 4-star in Haley Westerland, a 3-star who I think, because I've watched her social media, is really underranked. Like, I think she should be way up there, and Shannon's really good with identifying what they say are lower,
diamonds in the
talent
rough.
And yeah, and coaching up like he's done with Hannah Horton. Like,
right.
Hannah Horton was an All-American. She was a 3-star. So he knows what he's doing. So that'll be really exciting. And then I have been told that we should expect 1 to 2 more Shannon bat signals. He does have a bat signal now. I told the SID, I was like, Shannon needs a bat signal. Like, how are we going to know? These people just appear. And so they got that taken care of. It's him hoisting the 3rd place trophy.
Oh,
so
very nice. Very nice.
So badass.
That is a good one. Yeah. Bat signal is vital now. As much as the changes in transfer portal stuff, I think that's the most important one. Everyone needs a bat signal.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then just like the freshman class this year, like we saw Kaya Tonskanen, who, by the way, just finished with the bronze medal in all around bars and beam at the Finnish national championships over the weekend. She'll be back. And she really only did floor, I think, like half the season, and then she normally just did vault, but like she can do, I could see her doing slipping into all around. Like she is very talented on every event. Olivia Kelly was freshman All-American on 2 events. She could easily do 4 events. There's a couple more that we like didn't even really see that much that I think could get in to lineups. So the future is very, very, very bright. And I'm
And that's
very excited.
and I'll say that the Beamer, like that nickname for people who do the beams, I've never heard that before. That's awesome. That is a very fun nickname. I thought you just kind of came up with that, but that's pretty cool too. Just wrapping up, just gymnastics before we get over to softball. To what extent does like this finish, the highest finish, in Mizzou female athletics history for a team, just finishing third in the NCAA championships. What does that just mean just for the trajectory of just women's athletics at Missouri, and just what it kind of means just for, because it feels like, it put a big, spotlight just on women's athletics at Missouri just with this finish.
I think it shows the other team, like, this is what you should aspire to. I mean, Laird Veach went out there, like he was at national finals. Like, that's pretty cool. Well, and now they say, at least, like, now they've gotten the taste of it. Shannon said at their banquet on Saturday, I was there, like, well, now I want a second place trophy. Like, this is not, they're not coasting on this. Like, it is like, no, we are going to like keep moving up and keep moving forward. And we're going to try to promote all the other teams around us, because they have said over and over again that they've really enjoyed the support that they've seen from other teams supporting the program. Like football had put out a video where they tried to like do different like cartwheels and stuff.
I love when teams do that. It's that's so funny.
Baseball tried to do it. It was hilarious and awful. So it's just like, it's just been awesome to see like everybody supporting everybody else. And it's cool. It's cool. I guess the other teams need to get to work then, huh?
I mean, it's good to hear that, like in a league like the SEC too. I mean, like you can't coast, otherwise you go right all the way back down. Literally every other team will jump you just because of how stacked it is.
Especially in the SEC is crazy. And like, I'm interested to see how this will impact their attendance next year, because they really only had 3 actual home meets this year. They have 6 home meets next year.
Nice.
And like this year they went to Oklahoma, Florida, and LSU, which means that all of them come to Hearns next year.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Which could be massive attendance wise. So that, yeah, I'm really excited to see that. I would really like them to try to do a meet at Mizzou Arena and see. Like, I know they did it with Beauty and the Beast, but like wrestling, like just like gymnastics.
Just the beauty. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian Smith. Yeah, just the beauties.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Switching gears from one of the best just seasons a Mizzou program has ever had, to a team that really for a long time has been a beacon of consistency, but this year kind of fell by the wayside. Mizzou softball. I mean, this year never really got it rolling. They finished 25-31, 6-18 in the SEC, which was tied for last. I didn't know this, but it was the 3rd worst record in program history. That's pretty astonishing. I mean, you put that in contrast to where this team was a year ago. They went 48-18, made it to just hosted a regional and everything. Just an outstanding year. What kind of, just to sum it up, I mean, what went wrong this year? I mean, really?
Well, and also this is the first year since 2006 that they didn't make the tournament.
Yep.
Which my colleague Quentin Corpiel pointed out actually is 2006 is when the freshmen that are on this team were born.
I read that too. That was a good note by him.
I
Like,
was
that is
like,
just insane.
That is insane.
He
and
didn't need to say
sad.
it. It was a good article Quentin wrote. That was unnecessary. I felt very old reading that. But it's a good stat.
Oh my God, that's so bad. Back and forth with what I think the issues were. And we didn't get to talk to Larissa as much this year. So it made it hard to kind of figure out what was going through her head with some of the decisions and trying to figure, like, a lot of us were left like trying to figure out on our own what on earth, like, what is happening. Like, we don't know what the deal is with the pitching. We don't know any of this stuff. So it was just a very frustrating year overall, I'm sure, for them, because Larissa always tells us that she is the worst loser in the world. Like, she hates to lose more than anything. And it's like, well, did a lot of it this year. I didn't say that to her, of course. But I think a lot of it comes down to the team was really young. It was like 2/3 underclassmen. She talked about at a couple of points that they didn't really know how to win. So, like, whereas their stats weren't all that different than the ones that they had last year, but when it came down to it, if there were runners on base, the people who were batting, like, didn't freak out and, like, knew how to get them home. Whereas with so many people in the lineup that hadn't really had a bunch of repetitions and, like, they just don't have the experience to really know what it takes to win those games, especially in the SEC. So that was part of it. I think the other part of it is I do not think that she did a good job of in the portal at all. Like, you lose Lauren Krings. She is phenomenal, an ace. They replaced her with no one. I mean, they technically replaced her with a junior college pitcher who, well, we didn't see her in maybe one SEC game, so that should not Lauren Kring's level. And then I think that it kind of seemed like they were thinking that Sierra and Marissa would develop into ace lights, and it just didn't happen. Like, they had touches at times where they looked fantastic, but they also both went through very bad stretches, and there wasn't enough depth because they lost Lily Witten, who was, I mean, she was like a midweek starter last year. She left at Christmas. Well, you would have counted on her. So then she's gone. So after Marissa and Cece, you're left with people that barely pitched last year. Natalie Touche hardly threw any innings last year. JC Cruzet's been barely used in her 4 years as a Tiger. So, like, they just didn't have the reinforcements to help out when problems happen, which is how Taylor Pinnell ended up starting some games, which I would much prefer her as, I mean, the last couple games when she was back in her closer role, like she is a different beast as a closer. Like she just doesn't have enough pitches in her arsenal to be a everyday starter, I feel like. So that was part of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know what else. The schedule was too hard.
I was curious about that. Yeah, I read they played, what was it, like 4 or 5 teams that all hosted a regional in the non-con, and then you go right into SEC play. I mean, that can't be easy.
They were the only team in NCAA history to have to play 3 number 1 teams in series.
Wow. Yeah, that's
that
not
accounted
help.
for 2 of their 6 SEC wins.
I mean, and you make a super good point too, like just to kind of qualify what you said about, yeah, you look at the numbers and they're kind of similar, but I think they went 9-23 in games decided by 3 runs or less. So yeah, you just didn't have that, final little it factor that made last year's team so special, especially batting in those, on base situations where you need to eke out those wins in SEC play. It's like kind of the fine margins between, a team that goes well above 500 can host a regional and a team that has one of their worst finishes in program history. So it's strengthening that. Yeah.
Well, and with like, I was telling my dad about this, like with Cece and Marissa, they're 2 similar pitchers. Like they're both rice ball pitchers. So they both give up home runs. Like there wasn't enough diversity within the pitching staff to really give another look. Like, and so that was their biggest flaw this season, was having a big inning. Like it was absolutely unreal how many innings in which they gave up, a 3-run home run or a grand slam or a 2-run shot. Like they gave up so many home runs or so many big hits after they had made mistakes to load the bases, and then, they give up a bases clearing double. So I just really, I know they have a very good pitcher coming in, but she is a freshman. But she's the number 27 pitch. Like, according to Perfect Game, she's the number 27 player in the country. Abby Carr from St. Louis. So I think that at least there's another pitcher coming, but like I think Larissa's got a lot of work to do in the portal, because they're losing. Cara Daly had a really good season, her best season. She's gone. Taylor Ebbs was the one impact transfer that she brought in from Kentucky. She's gone. Julia Crenshaw had the season of her life. I mean, hit more home runs this season, I think, than the first 3 seasons combined. Like, she was crazy this year, but she's gone. So they've got to replace that offense somehow. Like, and you'd think the other thing that's kind of crazy to me, like, that she hasn't had that much success in the portal is because coming off of last year, like we were talking about, like, one win, a ball from making the Women's College World Series. That team was so fun to watch, like such good culture. Like everybody should be clamoring to play for this team. How did this happen where they got like nothing in the portal, and all these other teams, the SEC keeps getting better and better, and all these other teams are bringing in all of these like really impactful players from other teams, and Mizzou's just like, no, we're good.
I think we've seen it just across a lot of sports. I mean, just like teams, just where you have a lot of this success, and you think you can just ride with really anyone. And I think
get stagnant.
You get stagnant. You don't really realize that you have to just get better in this. I mean, the transfer portal's in all sports. It's not just football and men's basketball. Like it's in women's basketball. Everyone's rebuilding, retooling for the next year. Yeah. You're not going to always rely on that development, but I still want to talk about some of those names that are returning. You talked about a younger team. Can you give us just like 3 names that like you are just, I mean, there's, a lot of, maybe question marks going into the future, just with how this roster looks. But were there 3 people like this past year, even not freshmen, but returners, I mean, you were excited about, do you think will take that leap?
Madison Walker, unbelievable, especially if she can figure out how to be like not so feast or famine. Like it was like she was hitting home runs or then she was striking out. So if she can figure out how to do more than just hit home runs, because I think she hit 18 home runs, and that's like the most since Kim Wirt in like 2019 or something. So she was like a part-time player last year. So she's definitely a really good one to watch. Abby Hay was hurt most of the season. She got a back injury during the Illinois midweek, I think. And so she was in and out of the lineups and like visibly hobbled the rest of the season. She's going to be a huge one that they'll count on, and I think that she'll come back strong. And I'll go with Stefania Bruscato. I think she had a really good season, and she's going to be the new catcher. I think she'll take Julia's spot at catcher. She was really she did a really good job this season, I feel like, and didn't strike out a ton and just showed much better plate discipline than she did her freshman season. And then I'll also say, because she was out a lot of the season with injury, but Sanaya Hill, who was a freshman, she had major play during fall ball and then seemed like she was going to make an impact, was up there in all the stats and everything, and then she got hurt and was out the rest of the season. I think she's going to be an important person in the future too, especially with Cara Daly being gone and needing another middle infielder. Oh, and Madison Updegrove. Forgot about her too.
She's on the list too.
Grad.
I'll let you know. Jack has all the notes in the world.
I was writing down some notes. I was curious which ones you would say. I know
I was going down like the list, like reading the names. I was like, okay, yeah, Jack had this one. He had this one, and so that's
forgot
awesome.
about Madison Updegrove. Yeah,
I did some research. Yeah, I know she became like a regular starter, but yeah. So
I want to ask. You mentioned last year it was not a good portal haul, and obviously nobody wants to kind of be in this type of position again for Mizzou next year. I mean, going into the portal, what is maybe the biggest areas of need you think that Mizzou needs to address?
They need another pitcher for sure, even with this freshman coming in, because you never know about freshmen, how that's going to pan out. So they need another pitcher who is different than Marissa and Cece, that shows some sort of different look, because I want Taylor Pinnell to go back to being a closer. And then let me think of who is leaving. That Abby Hay will be back at first. I would like a middle infielder who is a very good defensive player and also can hit. And a good defensive and hitting outfielder. I know I'm asking for a lot.
Just rebuild the roster from the ground up.
We'll give you the NIL
It's
money.
3 people.
You take care
We're
of it.
Losing
No, yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think rebuilding. You're right about like the pitching rotation. It just seems like it was kind of shorthanded, whether it was through injury and just some kind of weird indecision stuff. And I mean, it's just kind of what happens when there's a down year. And you're right. I think I'm really glad you hit on the portal stuff. Like, I think that feels like the biggest thing to me is that this next portal cycle is hit hard and taken seriously. You think about it, and men's basketball, Dennis Gates learned that lesson the hard way with an 0-18 season. You know, you'd think
Yeah.
Larissa, an experienced coach herself, would do the same here and get this team back where it has been and where it should be.
Well, and it's kind of weird too, because like last year they got Maya Dodge from Northern Iowa, who everybody was like, oh, this is going to be a great ad. And she was like 2 or 3-time NBC Player of the Year, like outstanding stats, but never hit above 200.
Yeah, sometimes it just
And,
doesn't
like,
work out, and it's
struck
just,
out like constantly.
Yeah, it
So
can be frustrating.
it just didn't pan out. I
Yeah.
just want to see her be aggressive in the portal. And I mean, she hates losing. So, and I had somebody on Twitter was asking me like, "Oh, is her seat hot now?" And I was like, "No, she's a season away from the series."
Right.
Like, absolutely not. If she has a couple more, probably.
Yeah.
If next season goes poorly, it's probably mildly warm. But like, no.
Right. Yeah, you got to give her a chance to retool and see if they can bounce back from this in the transfer portal. Karen, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for dishing with us. I just have one more kind of on a fun one. I'll go back to gymnastics for more of an upbeat one. You mentioned before we came on, you had the tea about the scoring discrepancy at nationals. And then if you want to touch on the Utah stuff as well, I know you did briefly, but obviously that was a revenge factor piece, but I'll just end it there to end on a bit of a lighter note as softball looks to rebuild things. But would you get from the scoring gurus from gymnastics that corrected Mizzou's score?
Well, and I actually found it out because Coach Jackie and Coach Lacey went on Nate Salzman and Grace Ainger's gymnastics podcast on KCOU. So that's actually how I found out exactly what happened, because people were kind of guessing. So she went first. We thought that she didn't do the elements fast enough, and that's why they took her score down. But it actually was that when they watched, they credited one of her elements wrong. So like some split jump that she did, they credited as a different split jump, which was worth less. And because it was worth less, she wouldn't have had the requirements necessary to start from a 10.0. So they took her all the way down to a 9.7 start value, which is how she ended up with a 9.55 or something crazy like that. So Jackie and Lacey said on their podcast that they knew that like this was wrong, but they weren't really sure that they were going to inquire about it until they saw how close it was with Utah. And they said that Shannon was looking around, like, who has the iPad with the video of Amy's routine? So end of the meet, he takes it over there. They do the video review. They credit her with the right jump. Her score goes back up to a 9.85, and Mizzou beats.
There you go. That's hilarious.
Just the way that gymnastics gods intended it.
I would like to think that they would do that regardless, but the fact that it was against Utah specifically does make it very, very satisfying. That is awesome. Also, I think I've now learned the only thing maybe harder than doing gymnastics itself is scoring gymnastics. Because when you were explaining like, oh, the correct split technique, I'd be like, all right, like good luck to whoever chooses to judge that. I'm glad I'm not one of those.
Yeah, and most of us thought it was because even though we thought that she did the elements fast enough, we're like, oh, they probably just didn't give her credit for that.
Right.
But it looked right. And then we found out that, yeah, they gave her credit for a completely different lower level skill instead of the one that she actually did. So
fine margins. But in the end, Mizzou does top Utah. Karen, I'm glad we could finally recap all that. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone go check out Karen's stuff at Rock M. Her and the team do a good job, and not just gymnastics, softball, obviously, all sports as well. And Karen, thank you so much. We'll have you back on again soon.
Thank you, guys. This was fun. I'm like a podcasting.
You're a recurring
extraordinaire
guest
now.
now, so
Yeah,
the
second
requirements
time.
for our recurring guest is whenever we ask you have to come on, you have to drop all obligations. So that's our that's our rule.
Well, we'll see.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, quick hits time. We'll finish out the show. Very busy news week, not for Mizzou, but we do have some items in quick hits. Kenny, I'll start with you. Your jersey of the week.
Jersey of the week goes to Bryce Mayer, former Missouri pitcher, spent one season with the Tigers during his collegiate career, 16th round pick by the Houston Astros. He's moving up to high A. Astros announced some transactions on May 5th at the beginning of the week, and he was a part of it, going up with Lucas Spence, I believe a UDFA outfielder. The Astros going to high A. And injury news, for those that do care, Andrew Taylor went back on the injured list. Very promising start to his career. Came back after an injury last season. He's going to IL, so that opened a spot for Bryce Mayer. What I said, before the season, someone told me that he was going to be like a revelation, and I think he's on track to be the Astros minor league pitcher of the year. He had 30 strikeouts and 17 2/3 innings. If you can't do the math that quickly, that's a 15.28 K9 or 28 K9, which is pretty incredible. It's a good number to have that early into your pro career. 4.08 ERA and a 1.3 WHIP. So very good start for him to his pro career. And he pitched a little bit last year, pitched in 3 games right after he was drafted, but he's on good pace right now with the Astros.
Love to hear it.
I'm really happy Kenny got to talk about this. Combines his passions, his work, if you will. So good for you, Kenny. Happy for you.
Win for Kenny.
Thanks.
Win for Bryce. Peyton, your jersey of the week.
My jersey of the week is going to be. We've reached the point where just these contact lists are few and far between. So I'm throwing it in quick hits. Demarion Van Kelly, a 6'5" freshman from JUCO. He's received interest from Mizzou. He's received interest from Ole Miss, Virginia Tech, Kansas, A&M, Maryland, Nebraska, and South Florida, and more. So just wanted to keep an eye on. I'll be honest, I don't know anything about him. I'm not gonna.
Do you know where he goes to school?
Do
you know where he goes to school?
JUCO. I don't know where. JUCO was.
He goes to the University of Junior College.
He goes to JUCO.
He goes to JUCO.
He goes to Northeastern Oklahoma.
Enlighten me, Kenny, Mr. Recruit Man.
Northeastern Oklahoma State.
Oh, that's right. We were talking about this before we were on air. That's on.
Wait, I don't think that's right. I think
no, it's Northeastern Oklahoma A&M.
Northeastern Oklahoma A&M is where he goes. I looked for tape. You guys know I like watching the tape of any guys that hit the portal. I could not find any. I did find some old football highlights. I think he played football as a kid. There was a lot on YouTube about that, or at least someone with his name did. As a freshman, averaged, I had it in front of me, 15.3 points per game, which was obviously a solid mark. Got him some good interest. So guard option from the JUCO ranks.
There's something wrong with his stats page on the team website, because it says he took 8 shots in 1 minute in his first game in January. It looks like once the turn of the year happened, they stopped recording minutes in the games. So
it does say
1
that.
minute, 11
all
shots,
1 minute.
1 minute 7. Yeah.
He did drop 39 in a game per his stats page in November.
We haven't seen Dennis go after a JUCO guy in a while, and that was like the thing he went heavily into his first couple of years.
He spent one off season not doing it.
Was it really? Did he get one before the 0-19? Oh, Kurt Lewis, that's right. Yeah.
That's the real funny stat is that this would be the first JUCO commit not from John A. Logan College under Dennis Gates. That's maybe the more significant piece. Different than the usual pipeline. My jersey of the week is going to go to Ahmad Hardy, of course, the Mizzou running back transferring in. This is a good article from Kenny's colleague over at Mizzou Today, Kyle McCavery. Kenny, Ahmad Hardy wants to keep his jersey clean. I liked this headline. I read this article from Kyle. He had a good quote from Hardy. He said, "Every time I do get the ball, I think go score and don't hit the ground. I'm one of those guys that say I want my jersey clean after the game. I don't like it dirty, so I try to stay off the ground." Ahmad Hardy, I am feeding into all the propaganda. I'm so excited to watch him take the backfield. I think I'm sure it was some actual fan graphic and not a real expert, but had him as like the number 1 or number 2 running back projected in the SEC, which got me excited. I'm looking forward to it. Kyle talks about kind of his fit in that outside zone scheme and stuff like that, which to me feels conducive to not getting his jersey dirty. It's, get him out in open space, let him go run. But I'm excited for Ahmad Hardy. I thought this was a good quote.
Yeah, 100% agree. Very excited for him. The numbers from PFF, we remember, are just out of this world. It was basically him and Ashton Genty after contact last year, and then the rest of the field. I will say, I get what he's saying with this quote, and I get it. But you know what, young man, get that jersey dirty. This is SEC ball. Sometimes you're going to have to lay the shoulder. It's almost like, obviously, baseball is a different game, but you didn't want to see kids go home with their jerseys clean. It means they didn't slide around, didn't give the effort. Get that jersey a little dirty, Ahmad.
This is not helping Peyton's old head status. Run down the middle, halfback draw. Big Ten football.
Hey, if he stays up untouched into the end zone, I don't care. You can keep that jersey squeaky clean.
That's fair.
Peyton just wants a reason not to wash his clothes if Ahmad Hardy's not going to wash his.
I wash my clothes at least twice a week now.
Peyton, if Ahmad Hardy scores, we need to make some bet where Peyton has to wear the same shirt and never watch it for as long as Mizzou, as long as Ahmad Hardy
scores?
No, I'm trying to think of it. Like if he gets over 70 yards or something, Peyton won't watch the shirt.
I think he's going to get over 70 yards in most games.
Well, we can up it. Maybe 100.
I'm not a doubter of Ahmad Hardy. What is this going?
He hates horses. He hates Ahmad Hardy. He's Peyton Haberman. That's his name.
And he's old.
I like Ahmad Hardy. I was a big fan of this edition. I'll go back and find the footage.
Do that. I would like to see you. You're not going to do that.
There's no way you
I
find
can
it.
absolutely do that.
All right, do it.
I like no cap, and he's the main bird.
Sean introduces our next segment. It's the Sean East main bird of the week. Kenneth,
what are you doing?
What's your main bird?
What's wrong with this being my main bird?
It's Kansas beating Missouri.
Yeah, it's just another talking point. Mizzou baseball losing another game. This one not in conference play, but it is in the rivalry. So Mizzou's lost both games to Kansas this season. Had an opportunity. Kansas came back 2 runs in the 8th inning to take that lead. They were going 5-4 in the last 3 innings. But just the Mizzou season continues to spiral. 13-35, 6 SEC games left on the docket, starting this weekend and then the following weekend, closing out the year against Mississippi State. I did see every team makes it to the SEC tournament. I didn't know if that was a thing in college baseball, if maybe some teams got left off. So Mizzou can still get that 16th seed.
I think they have the 16th.
I think they locked it up, which is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
First team to clinch a playoff spot.
Man, this is, we're going to talk about it when it seems like the pretty clearly inevitable happens. But this is one rotten baseball team.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad. Peyton.
So let's keep talking about him. My main bird of the week is going to be Zion Young. The bird connection here is that the first image that Mizzou football tweeted of Zion Young was a photo of him taking a photo with Collins Hill Eagle, former Collins Hill Eagle, Travis Hunter quarterback, Sam Horn. And why did he take a photo of Sam Horn? Because Zion Young threw out the first pitch at the Mizzou-Kansas baseball game. Let's hope that Zion Young's border war goes a lot better than the baseball team's border war this year.
The 2 comments below this post are the funniest part of this, where it's just don't let any of the baseball vibes rub off on the football team. You're all right.
Yeah, sorry, just sneezing fit. I just did not want to put that on.
You leaned off screen. I was so distracted.
Luckily, we pulled even more attention to it just now by.
I couldn't help myself. I thought he was throwing up over there. Go subscribe on the YouTube. Yeah, it's Zion Young. Mojo, don't rub off. My main bird of the week. If you didn't think it was a slow news week, well, here you go. My main bird of the week goes to the Pope, or the new Pope. We're recording this on Thursday. The white smoke came out of the chimney, and the, wait for it, bird connection, College of Cardinals bird selected a new Pope. after multiple rounds of voting. So I don't think the new pope will have any Mizzou connections, but if it does,
Yeah, I'll say
we
I
will-
really doubt it.
You
I'll
know
stand
that
on
you know that the new pope has been named, right?
Has it?
Yes.
Oh,
Cardinal
Look,
Roberts.
I actually
Close.
haven't seen who it is.
Pope Leo the 14th. He's
Oh.
from Chicago, and he's a Villanova grad. This is awesome.
Oh, that's wait.
Really?
Did that
I
just
didn't know
come
that.
out, or did that
yeah,
get
it
named?
just came out.
Oh, well, I didn't see that. I just posted the.
I didn't see
Be
that
ready.
either.
Take your notes.
We were recording.
Say it again. Say his name again.
He's gonna be Pope Leo the 14th.
And he's a Nova guy
Yep, from Chicago. He was in Chicago.
from Chicago. Mizzou connection. Dennis Gates, also from Chicago. There you go.
Also, another bird connection you can throw in the video of the smoke coming out of the Sistine Chapel. There's a little seagull with its baby in the background of the chimney. That
Okay.
seagull has no idea that it's just on like a vitally important piece of film.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah,
Or
new
it
pope.
was- never mind. Maybe it's a holy bird. Maybe the bird knows what it's doing.
Good thought, Kenny.
Thank you.
Why don't we move on to the best thing we learned? Best thing I learned this week: Akron is already not going to a bowl game this season. And no, that's not a joke about how terrible Akron has been at football. They literally cannot go this year. Their academic progress rate is real bad. It's 9.14, which is low enough to, on top of already getting them a practice reduction penalty, they are now just straight up ineligible for the postseason. So if they go 12-0, I don't think they can play in the MAC title game either, and they can't play in a bowl game. So it's the first time it's happened like where they just can't make a bowl game, I think, since Idaho did it like 4 years in a row. There's been other APR problems in the past, like with practice reduction, but you don't see too often teams have such bad academic progress that they just can't go to a bowl game.
Yeah, that is wild. Well, the reply on this, the Reddit CFB, the one that was wild to me was they waived a couple of them for COVID. So they had was it New Mexico State and LSU? Can you imagine if that LSU one like held up in 2023, where they gave it off for the COVID waiver, and a team like LSU in the SEC was just ineligible from doing anything in the postseason? Like, imagine they make the playoff and they, couldn't participate. Pretty wild. There was a good On3 graphic too that just said like ineligible, and it was the Zip mascot, which another banger from them. Yeah, this is you don't see this that often. That is pretty wild. So no, we're eliminating Akron from the playoff before.
They can do our playoff. We'll make our own. We'll host it on Stankowski Field. We might have to sign like a waiver to do that, especially like if there's any injuries. Not our fault.
Who is Akron going to play?
Any other team that's ineligible.
Okay, sure. We can find some.
Or we could just
Nobody
like
else
choose a
is
team. Like we could choose Alcorn State and make Tyler Macon come back and play against Akron. I feel like that would be fun.
There you go, on Stank.
But I mean, Alcorn might make a postseason thing in the FCS, or so we gotta wait it out and see.
As long can we call it the ineligible?
No, I was thinking of calling it the Kenny Van Doren Bowl. Like I'll be the sponsor.
I thought that was funny.
Nah, it wasn't that funny. All right, best thing I learned this week is that Aiden Chronister has set up his official visit with Mizzou. He's a top 100 basketball prospect in the class of 2026. Originally from Arkansas, but he's playing over at Bel Air, Kansas Sunrise Christian Academy. Good relationships with head coach Dennis Gates and assistant coach Kyle Smith-Peters. And that official visit is set for September 20th, right before my birthday. Very nice of him. And Tony Bryant, another 4-star, 5-star on some platforms as well. He has a good relationship with Dennis Gates. He'll be there on September 6th. So 2 OVs to look out on the horizon for. And then this time next week, JJ Andrews, who's looking like a Mizzou lean, nice shooting guard down there in Arkansas, who's been to Mizzou a couple of times. He did his OVs pretty early. He already knocked his OV out this past fall with Mizzou, and picking between Mizzou, Oklahoma, and Arkansas.
And his commitment day is next week?
It's the 15th.
15th. So we'll have that news either way next week. So there you go. You have real Mizzou news down the pipeline. But yeah, good news for Chronister. That's a recruit we will keep an eye on. The best thing I learned this week, and if there are any construction operators who can translate this wording for us, that would be very much appreciated in the YouTube comments. I stumbled upon another stadium construction update. It's been a while since we've revisited the Memorial Stadium construction. There's, of course, a live camera. I know that films it all the time, so I haven't really checked in. I'm not.
Is it mounted to South Hall? I don't remember.
I don't know.
I know
it's across the street. They'd probably do it a little closer to what is that, Broadway?
Yeah, that's Stadium
or Stadium, not Broadway.
Stadium is on Stadium Drive.
I'm so
Genius.
Okay. Anyway, construction updates. The latest were from April 28th. I'm just gonna read these. I have really no idea what they mean, but feel free to interject as you see fit. Week of April 28th, 2025. Steel erection continued with crews averaging 60 to 75 pieces installed per day in the north end zone. That seems productive.
Not what it said. It said 65 to 70, Jack. Let's make sure the viewers have the full
That's what
picture.
I said.
Nope, you said 60 to 75. That could be 5 off one way or the other. So
65 to 70. The long-awaited structure is now visibly taking shape, marking a major milestone in the project. That's one my dumb brain can understand. You can see it, so that means it's almost
you couldn't
done.
understand what that one meant.
I get that one. Hayes construction is focused on the east stair, core, and tunnel, installing H-piles, lagging, and tie bands as they dig deeper toward the bottom.
All right, Jack, I'll level with you on that one. I have no idea what that means. But good job, Hayes Construction.
The field level club area progress has been smoother than expected, thanks to earlier rock removal during storm culvert installation.
You had me until those last few words.
CSI crews have advanced with the construction of footings and walls, shaping the lower levels of the new addition. That one I can kind of understand. So there you go. They got some photos. Look at them on the YouTube.
Wow, I didn't realize the M is just totally gone. I know. That's weird.
I'm really intrigued. There's two things I want to know. One, are they going to put the finished one in the college football 26 game, like they did with Vanderbilt before it was done? And two, and Kansas. And then two, like, I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like on TV, like next year. I guess not excited, but more just intrigued, like how much of a construction, because like at Vanderbilt, I remember there'd be people like working on the site. I heard that, like working on the site, like hammering away on scaffolding while like field goals were going on. That's all I have. Peyton, tell a joke.
Oh man, that's my bit, isn't it? Okay, hold on. I do the joke thing.
This might be the worst quick hits.
The worst quick hits we've ever
I think this is one of our best. I so disagree. Guys, this one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show, by the way. What do you give a scientist with bad breath?
Culvert installation.
That's a good guess if I was lying. Any guesses, Kenny?
I don't know.
Are you just ready for this to end? Guys, a scientist with bad breath, you give him experiments.
Ooh. Go and subscribe on the YouTube. The tweet said Chicago produced a QB or a Pope before a QB that threw for over 4,000 yards. Peyton has now gone silent.
I'm not a Bears fan.
You're not a Bears fan. Who are you a fan of?
I'm a Pacers fan.
We're not. No. We're not turning this on me.
Halliburton.
We're not turning this on me. All right. That'll do it for the unwritten rule. Hope everyone enjoyed the riveting program. Thank you to Karen on a serious note for coming on, because that was otherwise our show would have dissolved into chaos. But thank you to her.
This went really well. I don't know what you're
sorry.
about.
We'll be back. We got more news, like we said, commitment coming up for Andrews and other stuff down the pipeline. Getting close to Mount Rushmore season, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.